Welcome to Torah Smash, the podcast for nerdy Jews, where our lives of Jewish learning collide with our love of nerd culture. In each episode, we discuss what we lovingly call a Torah Smash, which we have defined as a beautiful collision of one thing from the world of Judaism with another from nerd culture. I'm Ethan Lane Miller, and joining me today are
Barack Malkin.
RDY, doing some magic.
Woo, yeah. Why do you say you're doing some magic, RDY?
Well, Ethan Lane Miller, you put on the sheet that we share Exodus 22:17.
And what is Exodus 22:17, RDY?
Exodus 22:17 is, "You shall not tolerate a sorceress," or translated literally, a sorceress may not be allowed to live.
Oh, RDY, I have a question for you.
Okay, I have an answer. Let's see if they match.
Hey
It's
guys, I'm here too.
Oh,
Barack,
hi. Hey,
okay.
Barack. Hey.
Barack, I will pose it to you, but literally, as I was researching this episode, I came across this. I was like, I need to ask RDY. So, RDY, that is Exodus 22:17. In my research, I have seen other sources label that verse as Exodus 22, verse 18. Do you know why that is?
The enumeration of the verses is an added thing. It wasn't there when the Bible was written. So different cultures, specifically Judaism and Christianity, will often enumerate slightly differently. The chapters are usually, I'm only saying usually because I don't like using the word always, but I think it is. The chapters line up. It's just the verses sometimes don't. And this is most noted, the way they count things is most notedly different in the Ten Commandments because we count a different 10 than they do.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me more. This is not my topic, but I'm so interested.
Yeah. So the first commandment in Hebrew is Anochi Adonai Elohecha. I am Adonai your God. And since that is technically not a commandment, the Christian theologians tend to think you shall not have any other gods is the first commandment.
Cool. Barack, do you want to answer that question, or do you
answer what question? You want me to give you Torah text teachings?
Yeah, I mean, you seem bothered. The question was for RDY and not you.
No, I was bothered before then.
Oh, okay. That's good. So,
You're not
yes,
bothered
this
anymore?
is.
Are you still hot?
Oh, we're punchy tonight. This is great.
Yes.
I'm glad to see y'all. So, this is the text, Exodus chapter 22, verse 17.
Or 18.
You shall, or 18, depending on your perspective, although our perspective is Jewish, and that seems to be agreement that it is 17. So you shall not allow a sorceress to live. You shall not tolerate a sorceress. This is the introductory text.
Where in the Exodus story is this line?
It's soon after the Ten Commandments. And when we say Ten Commandments, that is shorthand for the Ten Commandments that were spoken aloud by Moses to all of the Israelites at Mount Sinai, because we know there are 613 commandments. But the Ten Commandments, saying it in shorthand, are Exodus chapter 20. So this is Exodus chapter 22.
I can tell you the verse before this is translated to, if her father refuses to give her to him, he must still weigh out silver in accordance with the bride price for virgins.
That's the end of instructions, of a 2-verse instruction about marrying a virgin who has not been properly purchased.
And the following is, whoever lies with a beast shall be put to death. So a real page turners.
Well, the verse before that you quoted ends in a closed paragraph, as if to say this is a new idea. So not tolerating a sorceress, putting a sorceress to death, that is connected to the idea of not lying with a beast, which could be thought of as a ritualistic kind of thing, a way to do black magic, that kind of thing.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. But it is also sexually improper to have sexual relations with an animal. Please don't do it at home.
You heard it here first,
anywhere.
Folks.
I don't know. As long as you're out in public, it's fine.
Or anywhere.
Okay. So this is my lead in, and I will tell you that I have specific thing, a specific thing of media, and
Oh,
I
I
will
have,
narrow it by saying, do you want me to keep going, Barack?
no, I think I have a guess. And I'm a
Yeah,
little sad because I have a topic for it when the next part comes out. And so the sorceress to live, I, are we doing Wicked?
we are not doing Wicked, but I
Okay,
like
it
where
felt
you're
like a
at.
Wizard of Oz
Oh,
thing. Yeah. Okay, good. Because I have a topic for when the part two comes out.
excellent. I'm excited to see the movie. It
Me
comes
too.
out a couple weeks after we record.
All right, you can
Uh,
give your follow-up then more
okay.
clues.
My follow-up is this is about this wouldn't have helped you, Barack. It's about a specific thing of media that has come out in the last year.
A specific thing in media?
Yeah.
Do you mean movie and TV or podcast or
Yes.
newspaper? Yes.
Yeah.
I give you a
Yes.
When
This
was
multiple
is
choice.
when
You can't answer
when
yes
was
to a multiple
Agatha
choice.
all along?
it's not Agatha. It's not Agatha. This is something that has graced our screens within the last year.
I don't know if I've watched a lot of new stuff.
This came out a while ago now, like I think somewhere between 4 and 6 months ago. And
Oh,
I missed it because I was busy running a summer camp. But I then went and watched it and thought, oh my gosh, this was really good. How did we not talk about this yet?
It was a movie,
Nope.
so it's a TV show.
Yep.
Comic book based?
Yep.
Ironheart?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
So there are
Okay.
many, many
It's the
interesting
witch in
themes.
English that throws us off.
Yes.
Okay.
So one of the many interesting themes in Ironheart is the intersection of magic and technology and how Riri Williams navigates this whole new world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So did
Oh,
y'all get to
boy.
watch Ironheart?
I
I
did.
did. It was great.
I just did not expect it to be that. And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah, I want season two. The cliffhanger was great, and I really want to know what comes next. But part of me thinks that they're going to continue the story in another film and not in an Ironheart 2.
Yeah, that's kind of a great verbalization of something that I had been kind of feeling. I don't know if there's going to be an Ironheart 2, and I also am concerned that a movie would not give Riri the proper screen time to navigate this big decision she made.
No, I think you can handle it in like a Young Avengers side B story. Like Mephisto, spoiler alerts, Mephisto comes in at the end. So they're going to do something with him in the grand scheme.
Yeah.
And so whatever film he's in would be the A story, and Riri's complications could be the B story.
I mean, it was nice seeing Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah, he's great.
Yes. I liked Anthony Ramos as well. I mean, I would not have expected him as the Hood,
Hmm.
but it was nice. But yeah, Sasha Baron Cohen, I think will make a nice Mephisto.
They played him delightfully. So there's this tension between magic and technology, and I think it's so interesting to see Riri regard this with suspicion and then eventually embrace it. And so, one of the things that came to mind for me was the author Arthur C. Clarke. And one of his very famous quotes is, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Ooh.
Mm.
So it got me thinking. Last week, conveniently, a group of Cub Scouts came to work, and I gave them a tour as part of their like intercultural, interreligious merit badge sort of thing. It was very fun. So I taught them about Judaism, and as I started talking about Shabbat, I was talking about like a very traditional Orthodox Shabbat observance versus a Reform observance. And it got me thinking about, obviously, at this point in the Torah, electricity was not a thing.
Correct.
So thinking about Shabbat today, it got me thinking about, would our ancestors view this as magic? And I think probably is the answer.
Or at least indistinguishable, according to Arthur C. Clarke.
Yeah.
You
But I
mean,
don't.
are you saying that the quote from Exodus could be referring to just highly advanced things?
I wasn't necessarily, but now that you bring it up, I guess it could. So I guess our first question is, what our ancestors, if they took this verse literally, would they need to kill us?
If they were to travel forward in time, maybe they would at least have a desire to. But like, you take a match and you strike it and you'd freak out someone who never saw fire created from a tiny piece of paper before. So that I think that's probably what Arthur C. Clarke's quote means is like, if you don't really know how something works, it might as well be magic.
Right.
But people who started in that era and then somehow learned about this era and got here and saw someone light a match, they'd be like, "Oh, I've never seen one before. Now I understand."
So would Judaism regard current technology as magic or blasphemy? I think us as the Reformed Jews would say no.
No, and I don't think Orthodox Jews would either. It's all about, I mean, technology is a tool. It's all about how we use it.
Yeah, I would agree that too. I mean, it's why some bits of modern technology have Shabbat mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is to me a little silly because like you're kind of kidding yourself. You're still turning it on.
So, Artie, can you talk a little about like what delineation is going on there?
Yeah. So there is a commandment to not light a fire on Shabbat. And it specifically says lighting kindling a fire um, in relation to like the work that you shouldn't do. It never really defines work, but it also says you shouldn't light a fire. And at the time, lighting a fire either meant you had one and you brought it from one place to another. And is that kindling a fire or is that moving a fire? That's debatable. Or using flint and steel or wood on wood and a lot of friction. Like it took a lot of work to get a fire going. So not lighting a fire kind of makes sense to, that you don't want to do all that hard work on Shabbat when you should be spending time doing, other more relaxing things. In modern interpretation, there are people who say that turning on a light switch is the same as lighting a fire. To which I say, if that's the case, you're doing it wrong.
So, you think that Jews who use timers on Shabbat
Oh, sorry.
are
So, because you're not allowed to light a fire on Shabbat, that means you're not supposed to turn on your electrical switches. So, flipping that finger motion of flipping a switch to me does not seem like work, but people will put these timers on their lights so that they turn on at, 7 p.m. or whatever if it's going to be Shabbat when they want to have a little light in the house, or to turn off when it's nighttime or when it's bright out or whatever it is. So I see that as kind of kidding yourself. Like you're still setting the timer. You're still putting that light going on and off into motion. So if you're going to kid yourself like that, you might as well just flip the switch, because if you really think that turning a light on and off is kindling a fire or extinguishing a fire, then again, you're doing it wrong. It's not a fire.
similar to driving a car, which involves things that are probably a little closer to fire, actually.
Yeah, I do. I would say like, and there's no way to pretend you're not really driving your car.
Right.
Um,
Well, something electric car, full self-driving mode, maybe.
Still have to turn. Well,
yeah, well, you still have to turn it on.
If it's an electric car,
You still have to turn it on.
yeah. But like, oh, you're still sticking with like flipping a switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also there's a concept called Marit Ayin, which means the appearance, how it appears to the eye.
Mhm.
And if you're driving an electric car, it looks like you're driving a car, and therefore you're not really supposed to do it. And then you get into all of these like minutia of like, well, it says electric car on the side, and like, hey, everyone should know, and da da da. But it gets really they get all tangled up in legal knots.
So if my house has timers for Shabbat, but is fueled by a coal-fired power plant. I would say that's still that you've basically negated the whole thing.
Yeah, and again, that's one of the legal knots is like how closely are you going to inspect exactly the task you're doing? Are you going to inspect it all the way back to the coal plant? Or are you going to limit yourself to what's inside your home? Are you going to limit yourself to the actual work you're doing of flipping your finger up and down? Who
Yeah.
knows?
So I guess in terms of like how Judaism was back then, and I guess a little bit now, what do we define as magic and what do we define as technology? Because we have this text saying sorceresses should be put to death. We also have Joseph who interprets dreams. Like what's the difference there?
God.
Oh yeah, that's a good answer.
I would say that magic would often fall under the unexplained, which is rough in a religious context because there are, as already what I just said, the difference between magic and faith is God. But there are, I think there's many situations where people see a magician and think that it's real, but will attribute it not to the magician's powers, but to God powers of like Jesus has helped them do something and that God has allowed them to become these impressive people. Um, RDY is doing magic tricks for us for those that cannot see, which is everybody else except us.
It was good. It was fun.
I
Um,
mean, I didn't say watch this because
yeah.
it is not a visual medium.
So I think it's a rough conversation in a religious context because magic to me is things that can't be explained or that you don't believe can be explained, right? Even if you don't have the explanation, but you think there is some opportunity, you wouldn't attribute it to magic, right? Right, if somebody the first person, well, I'm trying to think of a good example in today's world.
It's a little hard, yeah.
Well,
Right,
even like
when I
David
see
Blaine or
not even
like
that, like when I see new technology or some new scientific endeavor of something, but I don't understand it, or but people are wanting to explore that, I don't view that as magic. I view it as something not yet to be able to be explained, right?
yeah, or just we don't understand it. That's where I was going with like a magician like David
Yeah.
Blaine, where a really talented magician is doing things that are not magic. We just don't understand or usually more to the point, see what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Right. If I saw somebody outside the house flying, I'd probably say magic. If they turned around and I saw some like jetpack propulsion type of air source, then I wouldn't. But
Or wires.
yeah, something. Right? Like it's in today's world, well, even AI, right? So like you have to see stuff today with your eyes because everything I'm seeing online is just it's to me it's obviously AI. And these stuff that like, wow, that's crazy. And I go, no, it's not. It's an AI video. So it's not even magic. It just they want you to be amazed and it's all clickbait. But in terms of real life stuff, it's I think we're all sort of jaded on um this is our world and our universe and we haven't yet had the opportunity to expose or experience if there's other existence out there.
And it's funny that you use the example of like other things out there because when we see, what people interpret as flying saucers say, they'll talk about how they were hovering, which is technology we don't have to like
Yeah.
come to
Right.
a full stop in the middle of a flight. But no one who's like describing these things says it was magic. They say it's technology we don't have.
Oh, that's a really good observation. Yeah. So in the religious context, if our God did it, it's not magic. If anything else did it, it's magic.
Pretty much.
Right. If somebody believes that their God did it, it's faith. It's divinely empowered and not magic.
And from a Torah context, and even from like Jewish folk tales, if it is specifically divinely wrought by Yud Hey Vav Hey, it's not magic, it's a miracle.
Okay. Is this why there are some Jews who are uncomfortable with Halloween?
No, I think that comes from a couple of different things. I think it comes from Samhain, the holiday that Halloween originated as. So it was a pagan holiday, and so that becomes problematic for Jews. It's also like antithetical to Jewish practice of like we're supposed to give to people, not knock on people's doors and ask to take things from them on threat of a trick.
It's a good answer. Okay. So I think there's just like multiple things rolled up over here. In one, I mean, actually, in a few ways, Riri has a crisis of faith, I think. You know, I think one of them is about her belief of how the world works and that there's no such thing as magic. And then suddenly, comes to be a believer. And then there's the, about death and the sort of choices that she made around that too.
When we're grieving, we'll turn to just about anything we can find to give us comfort. And sometimes those things are good things, such as Jewish ritual and allowing our friends to comfort us, and maybe even saying Kaddish or lighting a candle if that brings you comfort. But we also will turn to things that are not good for us, like using technology to create a hologram of a lost loved one, or turning to drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, I've seen this has been popping up my social media in the last week, but there's this company out there that's trying to hawk this product that's like going to allow you to carry on conversations with loved ones after they die. And it's this actually very creepy ad of this woman showing a video of this child's, grandparent being like, let me tell you this story about when I was little. And I mean, Barack's shaking his head. Like, I don't like this.
I don't think it's going to help with the grieving process at all.
I also think it's not accurate to who that person is.
Wait, help me out.
There's this company that's marketing a product that basically is like, we'll create an AI avatar of your dead loved one so they can continue to be a part of your life. And in this ad, it's this woman whose mother passed away and she's raising her kid. And it's like, oh, grandma's going to tell you a story.
Weird. So it creeps me out thinking of it as AI, and yet there's a movie called My Life from the early 90s where Michael Keaton is dying of cancer and his wife is pregnant. And he's recording instructions to his child. And it's stuff like reading him stories and how to shave and telling him about his shared history and familial things. And it's a beautiful movie. If you have not seen My Life with Michael Keaton, pause the podcast, go and watch it, and come back. I'll wait.
You've got a few minutes left. You can finish this episode and then go watch it.
I think
Either way, if you've just come back after watching My Life, I apologize for making you cry so hard, and I hope you had tissues nearby.
I think those are two very different things, though, because in the movie, that is directly from that person who is fully in control of what is said and how that information is conveyed.
Yes.
This is handing data over to a company that is going to extrapolate based on its information.
Yeah.
This is
and I acknowledge that there's a difference, but I do find it small. Not super small, but it is a small difference. And I think that the child might not perceive a difference.
A lot of this is reminding me of another Marvel piece, which is a nice connection here. And I'm trying to think if there was any magical confrontation at any point, but a lot of these pieces are reminding me of Iron Man, right? In fact, like in the comics, he deals with science versus magic. I don't think we've had that in the movies very much yet for him, unless we want to count his interactions with Thor in some sense, but that's more godlike instead
Doctor
of magic.
Strange.
Okay, yeah, Doctor Strange, right? But Iron Man hasn't concerned himself with the mad. There, I think they had some one-offs of like the wizard or whatever, right? But he struggled with his grieving, and he built that system in, I forget, was it just the beginning of Spider-Man? Or is it no, no. He had built a system in Iron Man, I want to say 3, where the movie starts off and he's having a conversation with his dead parents. Um,
Yes,
right? And
that's
then
Iron Man 3.
yeah, and then it became the
Like a
projection.
presentation at MIT or
Yeah,
something.
and it became the projection imagery that was used in Spider-Man Far From Home. And so he struggled with this idea of a loved one passing and not having a conversation, but he in those pieces, he had said like it's not good. Like this doesn't work. There's no conversation. It's not the real thing.
He said that that's not how it really happened. And then he called it something like a $4 million therapy session.
Yeah, and he nicknamed it fart or something,
Yeah.
right? Like so they explored it a little bit. I just, and I appreciate that was it the Eye Center, one of the companies, right, for Holocaust survivors is trying to take images and writings from those that who survived the Holocaust so we can continue to have stories and listen to people quote directly.
Hmm.
And that's for an educational purpose.
But
They
again, I believe what they're doing is just a recording, not a.
nope.
That's
They're
the Spielberg Center.
Mm.
there is a company that is creating an interactive element where you can ask questions to the hologram about their experiences. And so that is different. And I don't know all the details of it. Listeners, if you do, feel free to message us, but that's for educational, but it's still manipulative in some sense. And I don't know if they'll be like, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question, right? Like it's supposed to be a person, and then maybe they create a go-to, I can't answer that question, I wasn't there, or whatever. That didn't happen to me. I enjoy it for the educational, but when people are using it for the emotional resolve, I don't think it's helpful.
I mean, that just all of this just makes me so nervous.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. I mean, it goes back to me saying originally, like technology is all in how you use it.
And Riri, I don't know that she uses technology or magic particularly well, if we're doing honest. Well, maybe well's not the right word. Maybe in a healthy manner
Mhm.
is the better way to say it.
I remember having some difficulties in watching this. I'm trying to remember the specifics because it was many months ago, as you said. But some scenes, she would do something that took her forever, and other scenes would be instantaneous, but both seemingly equally difficult. And sometimes it just throws me out of the storyline when stuff like that happens. So I enjoyed the storyline. I thought it was pretty well written overall,
Mhm.
but I did struggle with the balance of the technology usage throughout. But I thought it was very good.
Yeah, I agree. I liked it a lot. It wasn't like my focus wasn't, magic doesn't fit in this world or science versus magic is an interesting way to put this. Um, and pointing it out, it makes me want to go watch it again.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
has been, 4 to 6 months since I've seen it.
Yeah, I think kind of the point I really want to drive home is Riri uses technology to resurrect her friend and then uses magic to resurrect her friend. Like
Mhm.
she didn't learn the first time around.
Hmm. Sure. I'll buy that.
Yeah.
The final episode ended where Riri had clearly made her choice. And I was so disappointed in her. And also, I had this realization that if I was in the same situation, I would probably say no.
Mm.
And that I realized it's not 100% no. It's probably 99% no, but
Mhm.
I'd probably be tempted for some amount of time.
Yeah, I agree. I will agree with you that I was also upset by the ending, that it felt like her character had made an arc of this struggle with her past and her grieving. And the season ended of like, oh no, she didn't accept her grieving. There was no move past that stage of denial. She's still in that stage of denial. So what was the change for the character, if not just a new suit?
I also think it upset me, not in like a meta analysis of like the writing or the character arc. It upset me just as like if this was a person sort of aspect. Like people take so many different journeys in grief, and it's not linear, and there's steps forward and steps backward. Uh, but it upset me from a, oh come on, Riri.
Yeah, I was the same way. Can I ask, has this text come up in any situation? Like I've never heard this line before, that you should not allow a sorceress to live, and I'm stuck on it because it seems thrown in there, and I don't know of a situation where I've heard of it either referenced within the Torah or a midrash or anything, that it just is magic mentioned anywhere else, that this is like a concern for the olden times?
Well, it was this verse was quoted in Firefly.
Oh,
What?
do
Yeah,
tell.
This one?
pretty sure. The episode where River and Simon are kind of taken in
Yeah.
by the very religious folks, and
Oh, sure. With what's the preacher's name?
Book.
Yeah, Book.
Yeah, and so River starts to read people's minds, and one of the townspeople freaks out and quotes this, and that's where Simon and River get about to be burnt at the stake.
Interesting. Interesting.
It does come up in the Talmud a couple of times.
Go on.
Well, there's a section in the Talmud called Sanhedrin where it's establishing like rules and how to deal with the court system and how judgments should be delivered and that kind of thing. So it points out that you should, first of all, the term that we say witch, hamchashefa, is a male and female word. So even it's in the feminine form, it also refers to, we'll say, a warlock. So they want that to be clear, but then they go all, typical sexist, and they go, well, it says witch because women are all familiar with witchcraft. Um, but then it says, okay, how do we administer their death? And it stated, well, it says you're not allowed a witch to live, and then it says later on you're not allowed anything that breathes to live because there the Canaanites were killed by the sword. So here too you have to kill them by the sword. So they start talking about the mode of execution, and they argue whether it's by the sword or by stoning, which is kind of the topic of this section of the Talmud anyway. But they're talking about administering the death penalty and to whom.
Is there anywhere that defines sorceress?
Um, I mean, yeah, the dictionary, but
No, in the Torah, in Jewish text.
I can't think of a space that says, and here's what we mean by sorceress, which means it was common. It was like a word that people didn't need defined.
Sure. Okay.
So switching gears, going back to Pharaoh. Eventually, by the end of the 10 plagues, we get to some things that are pretty big. But did God make a mistake in picking some plagues up front that Pharaoh could wave his hands at and be like, oh, my magicians can do this?
Ooh, good parallel.
Right. But
Did God?
that's for those are non-Jews, right? Pharaoh's wizards are not, whatever. Pharaoh's, like, yeah, I'll say wizards are non-Jews.
The David Blaine of ancient Egypt.
Yeah. And so, right, Moses' staff is then claimed for faith for God's magic. So that's fine. Right. And Pharaoh's men is saying they're using their God's magic. So that's fine. So that's what I'm saying. At what point does the sorceress, not become God's magic, but just black magic? Right. It becomes it's a subjective it becomes a subjective conversation.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
we're always
I
the
think,
good guys of our own story.
of
Right.
course, and definitely the villains of the ancient Egypts or ancient Egyptian story. But, there's a question to be asked of why didn't God just be like, yo, what up? I'm God. As opposed to like, let me do these things that Pharaoh will dismiss, at least the first things, as being magic, things that he's very familiar with every day.
There are plenty of midrashim on this section of our narrative, and one of them, in one of my favorite modern midrashim, The Prince of Egypt, they do a really great job in visually interpreting a pre-existing midrash where Pharaoh's viziers were doing parlor tricks and God was making miracles. And there's this moment when the water turns to blood in the Nile, and an Egyptian like dips his hand in the water and it's like thick and drippy and it stays on his hand like blood, and he walks out of the Nile and the bottom part of his tunic is stained. And then the Pharaoh's magicians do the same thing and they go, see, and they pull their hand up and it's like it's much more viscous, much less viscous, it's much more runny. And the Pharaoh, they put their hand in and they pull out some of the red that they've made, and it's much more runny and it doesn't stain their hands, and it's not like it's clearly not as well done magic as the miracle that God has wrought. And so that idea, I think, is a great interpretation of like what's the clear difference between these two. But it's definitely like, is it magic or is it miracle? And yeah, the difference is perspective, but it was kind of just known that the Pharaoh's viziers were doing magic tricks the way we would refer to them today, of like Blaine and Copperfield and magicians not named
Right.
David. And whereas Moses was doing God's will with the staff and only as God commanded.
Sure, that makes sense. All right.
Can I ask?
Please
go ahead. No, go ahead.
The other thing I was going to say is, I think Judaism has different understandings of magic, and I think ask different Jews, you'll get different opinions as you do on most things. And I'll also reference our listeners to go back and listen to Leviticus All Along with Rabbi Alexandria Shuval Weiner, where at one point we talk about a magician fortune teller being at a bar mitzvah scene.
Can I ask, it was a few months ago from some of us and not prepared to think about it, but do y'all have any favorite scenes or moments from the Ironheart show?
Yes, you can ask.
Great. And so it has been asked.
I enjoyed the tension of the theft from the like offshore botanical garden. Like that I thought was really, really gripping. All the different like threads and things going wrong. I also just overall really loved how the city of Chicago itself felt like a character in Ironheart. And I'm obviously inclined to be biased, as perhaps some others on this call are. But I loved how, there was a lot of Chicago sprinkled in.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice to have something not shot in New York.
Yeah. Like her on the L train. I was like,
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool. I think for me, it was like finding out it was the hood was a lot of fun. Finding out that it was Mephisto behind it was a lot of fun. So for me, it was all this like discovery of all these characters that I was familiar with from growing up. And as opposed to like any one particular moment, just kind of the discoveries that Riri had that brought the viewer along with her on her journey.
Nice. Yeah, I enjoyed her hologram partner situation and how it was like very playfully the AI with the memories, even though it was from her memories. But I do think one of my favorite, I like when movies do this. There was a fight scene and Riri landed on like an In-N-Out or a White Castle. I don't know if you guys remember, and the letters fell out, but the only letters that remained were ouch.
Yes.
I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was good.
That's funny. Although In-N-Out would have been out of place.
So probably White Cat. It was some sort of fast food burger thing.
I mean, look, I'll also say In-N-Out keeps expanding all over the place. Get that nonsense out of Texas. This is Whataburger country.
I mean,
Whatever
I
you're gonna say, be careful.
no, I mean, I'm not much of a meat eater. I have started eating meat because Texas ruined me, but
You're welcome.
I can't really yeah, I can't really tell the difference among like burgers, so I
That's
prefer
fair.
to, make
That's
my own.
fair. Yeah, I really liked Ironheart. I really, really liked it. And I hope that this part of the story with Riri is continued. I'll of
Yeah.
course take it in some form or fashion, but I believe to truly give it the emotional depth. I hope there's a second season of Ironheart and there's a good payoff here.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
I didn't think there was enough proper setup in Wakanda Forever, but I liked how it continued. And there were hints throughout about her relationships to Shuri, right? She had used like I forget the name. There's some formula that Shuri used for her AI, and it was written in the formula that Riri was working on.
Mm,
And there's all these little references, but it did feel like a bit of a granted, I guess she built her suit in Wakanda, so that probably is another bit of a why that suit was like so powerful and she sort of like had to restart here in Chicago.
mhm.
And yeah, no, I thought it was a good story. Just I struggled with some of the tech advancements that she was able to use from a junkyard. But I guess Tony Stark did it in a cave with a bunch of scraps,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
So,
He made an arc reactor
yeah, absolutely.
as one does. Good
Yeah.
old science fair project.
Yeah.
without any Wakandan tech.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. So, no, overall good. I'm hoping to see her again, but yeah, sad with her decision at the end. It felt like a reversal of character, but I get why they did it. I can, she struggled hard. And so for her to come straight out from that point, I think would have been maybe too easy. So I get why she struggled with it. It just felt like she had Mephisto's conversation under control and then she didn't.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right, y'all. Any closing thoughts?
Ethan, today was magic.
Oh, thanks, Steve.
I'll say, like, in terms of miracles and magic, right? This episode is the last one that airs before Hanukkah.
Hey,
So before we talk to you again, happy Hanukkah, everybody.
happy
Happy
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah.
Yeah.
May all of your dreidels magically land on Gimel. Or dreidel dice, depending on what you're rolling.
Right. Yep.
That'll do it for this episode of Torah Smash. Our fiscal sponsor is Jewish Creativity International. Our theme music was created by Sean Fogel. You can check out Sean's bands and studio work at www.thesleepywest.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to rate and review us wherever you listen. It helps others find us and is an excellent way to support the podcast. We want to hear from you and continue today's nerdy discussion. Go to torasmash.com to find where to connect with us online, purchase swag from our store, support us with a donation, find previous episodes, and more. And this is normally where the end of the episode joke goes, but this time it's just going to magically appear. It's all getting cut. Okay.
I think it's gonna stay in.
It's in the Bible.